And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the League of Legends Amateur Open. This is week 8. We are into our lower bracket finals. We have Russ is looking for a date, going up against Most Disbands NA. Most Disbands NA just played an amazing game against XMS Gaming. And they really proved that they want to be here right now. They have one more shot at getting to the finals to face off against 40-ounce Bounce. Joining alongside me today for this match casting is Kodalok.
Thanks for the introduction, Muddy. And yes, this should be an exciting match with the last game being so tight and so close. It's only a wonder to see what this losers bracket final will be like.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see, as always, what Russ LFD is really going to come out for this game. Plushy Mikey has been really strong for them in yesterday of the tournament. However, today he got shut down with that 2v1 mid. From 40-ounce Bounce. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to tie that into their strategy against Most Disbands NA.
And yeah, in the last game we really saw that Plushy Mikey was a strong character in the team composition, and they just focused him down so hard, and there really wasn't much that Russ is looking for a date could do about it. This game though, we do see a ban on Zac and Shen, both who have been used very recently in this tournament.
Cassidy and Blitzcrank also being banned out for Russ is looking for a date. Don't want to have to deal with that split, that roaming potential that Casson can bring to a team very early on. Once he hits that level 6, he's able to use that Rift Walk. Jarvan the 4th also being banned, as well as Blitzcrank. So we're gonna see what most Disbands NA are gonna look to ban, pick up for their 3rd ban. That is.
Yeah, Blitzcrank is really good at just finding opportunities because it's not exactly if he lands a hook; it's just a matter of when. If he runs out of mana early game, that's another issue, but the Vayne ban, very interesting. So between Zac, Shen, and Vayne, it looks like the purple side, just Most Disbands NA, just really doesn't want to deal with the late game split push.
What I really want to note right away, Plushy Mikey insta-locked that Lux. Just immediately clicked, lock in. Lux is by far his most favorite champion, the one he's most comfortable with. So giving him that Lux is going to be huge. We're most likely going to see Most Disbands NA gonna try and either counter pick him in lane or make some crazy lane swaps to try and shut him down. But it really comes down to, I don't remember who their mid laner is, but maybe their mid laner could have some confidence going up against Plushy Mikey. We did see a lot of him playing yesterday, so he might say, hey, you know, I did some research, I know how to counter him. So it's really interesting to see how this is going to go about.
Right, and Most Disbands NA, have they faced them before? Russ is looking for a date?
I'm actually going to take a look at that right now. They have not. They have not faced them this tournament yet. So it's going to be new. It's going to be some brand new things coming for both these teams. Seeing Vi and Thresh getting locked in for Russ LFD. Another thing to point out here, Vi was left open for Kraylol.
Yeah, and this is the 3rd time that Kraylol has picked up Vi, picking up that exhaust early too. So between a Thresh, a Lux, and a Vi, they're looking for those picks, and they're looking for them hard. Ezreal, of course, can escape very well, and Sona can peel quite well, but if it will be enough is a question to be answered.
Yeah, it's good that you bring up their picking off potential right here. The Light Bind, the Assault and Battery, and that Death Sentence are very effective at catching any member of Most Disbands NA, and like you said, Ezreal is going to be able to use that Arcane Shift to get away. That's not to say really for Sona though, if she does end up getting caught by that, she's pretty much done. She could use a Crescendo to try and lock them up long enough so she can get that flash off. However, she is a very squishy champion in that support role. So they have some guaranteed picks off with that Assault and Battery. It's like, you know, you're guaranteed to hit that. The Death Sentence and the Light Binding are skill shots, so we are gonna see some skill coming out from Russ LFD. And I really think that ward coverage is gonna play a big factor into this.
Yeah, definitely. If they can get those spots off and they can see them coming, Most Disbands NA can just back it off and stay safely away from that Thresh Hook and that Vial. And between Cho'Gath, Jace, and Sona, they'll be kiting really hard. And it's really possible, too, that Ezreal can just Arcane Shift away as soon as Vi ults, and then suddenly Vi's alone while her team is trying to catch up desperately.
Yeah, exactly. We usually did see Kraylol building a bit of damage. He usually goes for that Spirit of the Elder Lizard. He doesn't go full tank on Vi. He wants to have some sort of killing potential when he does use that Assault and Battery to get into the back lines. So it could, like you said, the kiting potential right now for most Disbands NA is pretty big. They could look to kite around Kralo and be able to finish him off because he isn't going to be that full tank. So we are seeing Xin Zhao and being switched over to a Twitch there.
Yeah, Hado's probably going to pick the ADC there.
And what's good to take note here is that Hadu really likes to play those hyper carry AD carries. He played Vayne in one of the matches, Tristan in that last game, now he's on Twitch. That spray and pray is able to hit pretty much every single member of most Disbands NA if they're lined up. So the expunge damage that's going to be coming up from him late game will be huge.
And even though they have a great damage comp, I mean, between Fiora, Twitch, Lux, they have so much damage. Their teamfight potential is going to rely on them being able to burst down 1 or 2 people immediately. Other than the Thresh ultimate and the Lux ultimate, they almost have no teamfight. Whereas looking on the other side, for most Disbands NA, Sona can ultimate the entire wave of champions, Cho'Gath can rupture the entire field, Jace can speed them up, slow them down, whatever he wants, and Hecarim can ult in as well if he locks that in. So the teamfights are going to be really interesting to see how fast and how slow that each team controls it.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of single targets damage coming out from Russ LFD. Mikey on Lux, he has a Lucent Singularity. He's able to hit an AoE, but mostly Lux's Light Binding, Lucent Singularity, as well as Final Spark combo is used a lot for bursting down one champion and catching them out. The Assault and Battery, the Vault Breaker, and the Excessive Force coming out from Vi is going to be huge in catching out targets. As well as, the Death Sense, single target, the box being able to provide some form of CC during teamfights. However, other than that, Russ LFD is pretty much single target damage.
Yeah, I mean, Lux's peak viability is right around mid-game where she can roam around and do 2v2 or 3v3 skirmishes, because after she hits that third-person limit, there's not much that she can do. The last 2 people might get hit by ult or might get hit by Lucent Singularity after the first 2? I don't think so, right? So their peak moment right there for Russ is Looking for a Date is going to be between that 20 and 25 minute mark, and that's when most Disbands NA will have to look out the most.
Yeah, Hecarim, I feel, is a great jungler for locking down dragon fights. The Onslaught of Shadows can be huge for disrupting enemy teams when they do decide to position themselves over for that dragon. So if he's able to use that at the most opportune time, could be comboed really well with the rest of most Disbands NA. So we do have both team comps locked in here. I'm going to assume it's going to be a Jace mid and a Cho'Gath top, because Aquarius did opt to go for that teleport on Cho'Gath. But you never know, it could be Jace top, Cho'Gath mid. He just wants that teleport to be able to provide his team some global pressure.
And yeah, that's a huge spike in AD between the Jace and the Sona, or I'm sorry, the Ezreal and the Hecarim. But with all that AD comes the price of not having enough AP damage. And AP itemization recently got buffed quite well. So if they stack armor on Russ is Looking for a Date, they might just make it out okay.
Could you talk us over real quick what you think these teams are going to look to do for level 1, if they're going to look to do anything at all?
Well, looking over at the left side for Russ is Looking for a Date, you have Vi, who doesn't really have that early CC since she has to start with either Denting Blows or
Vault Breaker?
I'm blanking right now. Vault Breaker, correct. And Plushie Mikey really doesn't want to land on that bind first, so it's probably going to be a safe, ward everything up, defend your base, hope that no buffs get stolen, because if Cho'Gath gets a catch, or if Jace gets a catch, it's going to be devastating. But if Thresh gets a hook, or if Lux just happens to go for that binding, because you never know, it's going to be dangerous. Twitch obviously is very safe, starting with the invisibility, and both teams are going to look to try to outplay the other while remaining safe.
Yeah, we have been seeing the support players in these tournaments opt to go for the all-ward start, so I'm going to expect no difference coming out from Morkel and Frosty in this game. We're probably going to see them either ward up their blue or their red, and then try to roam around in the jungle of the opposing enemies here. Honestly, I'm taking a look at this, and the invade teams coming out from both teams are pretty even. There's not one team that has a significant level 1 advantage. We have, the Rupture and the Death Sentence being huge for catching out early level 1s. I'm really curious to see though, aside from level 1s, is this mid lane matchup. It's always been a big deal for Russ LFD. It's Plushie Mikey in that mid lane. Not quite sure if he's going to be going up against Jace or Cho'Gath in that mid lane. We'll have to see once the match actually starts. But Mikey, like we always say, is a very mechanically skilled player. He's gonna be able to use his champion's advantages, and he's going to be able to play through his disadvantages because he probably has played enough games on Lux to really know what he's doing on her. So it's really
And
going to.
that's definitely one of his strengths too, is just locking down mid lane, completely shutting them down, and while the other person's catching farm, they just roam and try to get that map control to just snowball the entire lane into a great late game and a great mid game phase.
So now we are seeing the 3-minute delay being up here. We're about to get into the loading screen here, and now it's time for the skin intimidation once it loads up here.
Skin intimidation.
So we are seeing Russ is looking for a date. Still Legion Lux, ooh, Gangster Twitch, and Headmistress Fiora.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, Steel Legion Lux is really OP, and if any skin gives you invisible particles on Steel Legion Lux,
That's a very good point, yeah.
it's so blind to be able to dodge things that you can't see. So slight edge to mid to Plushy Mikey.
Yeah. I'm sure he's gonna try to use the fact that the particles are rather hard to see, and he's gonna use that to his advantage when it comes down to poking in lane, and it all really comes back down to I'm not so sure who's gonna be in that mid lane yet, so we'll
I
really
think
have
it'll
to
be
see.
Jace.
Yeah,
It'll probably be Jace.
see, here's what we do have to take into account. DX Gods is usually the top laner, so he could be going for that, or maybe they're opting to go for the role swap here. So yeah, it's a very good point. ATM Pink on Hecarim opting to go for that ghost, so he's gonna have a lot of chasing potential with that if he's not able to use that devastating charge to get in range. Flash coming out from almost everyone. Exhaust also on Kraylol, like usual. He loves that summoner spell. And we
That
see,
Vi aggression.
yeah, absolutely. We talked a bit about that yesterday, how the exhaust really played in his favor. And now we are into the game. Plushy Mikey opting to start those support masteries again on Lux. I was talking to him a bit about that. He goes for 20 Magic Pen early on. So he doesn't have much starting AP. However, if you take a look at his magic penetration, he is running 20 magic. Oh, and it switched over to Jace. He is sitting on 20 magic pen and then the 8%. So he's gonna have a lot of penetration when it comes to lane.
And yeah, that really fits into his playstyle and as well as what Lux does. As I mentioned earlier, she does really well in 2v2s and 3v3s. And magic penetration doesn't really matter until you get a few items down. So right after she gets maybe a chalice with those double fairy charms, she'll be just edgy enough with the damage to be able to use the magic penetration to her maximum potential. And at the same time, it gives her just a slight edge in lane, but not quite as much as flat AP would.
We talked a bit about how the supports were going to start all wards. We do see Morkel actually starting for that Fairy Charm in wards, but Frosty did opt to go for the all ward start. He dropped a quick one onto their blue buff. So if most Disbands and A is going to look to take that away, which at the moment they are just patrolling around their red buff, they aren't going to really do much here. They did ward their own blue buff, so it looks like Russ is looking for data. He's going to try and steal that away. Excuse me, they will get spotted by that ward.
Both teams just blowing so many skill shots to try to pick out the other team. They're both playing extremely safe. And we probably won't see an engage here, but if they go to steal that blue, it's going to be a question of whether most Disbands NA responds or not. Cho'Gath is going back, and he's probably going to walk. Is he going bottom?
Looks like he's going bottom. So we might, yeah, we're going to see some lane swaps here. One thing to note, Ali1 and Morkel, they could be going top or mid. Not 100% sure yet. Ali1 is kind of positioning himself a bit more over towards the mid lane, but we're not sure. He could be just trying to get that lesion. No, we're not sure yet. Russ LFD going to steal away that blue buff for his team, or for their team rather, and ATM Pink just starting his red buff. So,
and yeah, we're definitely going to see the Vi take the smite to just clear it as quick as possible. Jace going into mid lane, and then the duo lane going top. Interesting that the Thresh didn't pick up the soul. Kraylol clearing out that blue buff, which means that Vi does plan on going back there as soon as it respawns. Getting the timer down is so important for the junglers.
we are seeing DX Gods in that mid lane, like you said, going up against Plushy Mikey. And Aquarius on Cho'Gath right now, gonna try to farm up as best as he can in that 2v1 lane. And right now it looks like Hadu and Frosty just want to freeze up this lane. They want to deny Aquarius as much farm and experience as they can. So we are seeing ATM pick away. The flash from Spy Wombat actually misses there. He wasn't quite
Oh.
able to get over the wall right there, and ATM's going to get away. Light Binding landing off in the mid lane. Kraylol going to charge up that Volt Breaker. Not quite going to get in range for that.
Yeah, super awkward, but at least now, for both teams, they have both of their respective buffs. Blue not quite being cleared on the side of Russ still needs a date, but Vi should be able to get a timer there as soon as the ward runs out. And we see that Fiora actually burned her flash almost instantly to try to catch up to them, but it was to no avail, and with no wave clear, she's going to be pressured real hard here on the top lane. Cho'Gath on the bottom, however, with all of his Vorpal spikes and ruptures and Feral Scream, he'll be able to clear the wave repeatedly and actually be able to heal his mana and his health off of it, so he'll hold pretty well in this 1v2.
Yeah, Cho'Gath is definitely an exceptional pick to go in a 1v2 lane. So I definitely think that most Disbands NA had this strategy plan. We are seeing Kraylol coming to the mid lane. Volt Breaker is not quite going to land. Exhaust going to DX Gods here. He does have that flash available. The Light Binding is going to land onto him, and the Ignite's ticking. First blood going over to Plushy Mikey.
First blood. And yeah, Plushy Mike is going to get an instant advantage in that lane, and after he gets those items, that's exactly when the magic penetration is going to start to hurt. So DX Gods on Jace, though, will be pretty safe. He'll be able to poke out the lanes, hopefully be able to clear out the backline, and as always, this gives him a chance to buy as he goes back.
One thing we should take note here is that Frosty and Hadu did decide to swap to that top lane to go against Ali 1 and Morkel. So right now we are seeing the usual lanes, it's just in different places on the map.
And yeah, these lane matchups normally would be okay, but between Cho'Gath and Fiora, Fiora's flash is now down. She's just missed out on quite a bit of CS. She only has 3. She won't be able to jump on Aquarius for that early burst that we see Fiora and that she's so famous for.
Yeah, I'm honestly not quite sure how Fiora works, because we haven't really seen much of her. So it's a very interesting pick that Spy Wombat did bring out here. So if he's able to play this really well, it could be huge for them. Because if I'm not mistaken, Fiora is a champion that does better as the game goes on. I'm going to take a look at her ultimate real quick, which is called Blade Waltz, where she's actually able to hit multiple members of an enemy team for lots of damage.
Right, and Cho'Gath is so good at shutting down. We see a second lane swap. Cho'Gath is so good at shutting down people that use their skills in lane, but Fiora is free to just go to town. Although we'll see if they go for another lane swap here. It's
Yeah.
like musical chairs with lanes.
Yeah, right now most Disbands NA really want their lanes of choice. They do not want that 2v2, because the aggression that comes out from Hadu and Frosty is huge. They'll be able to put down lots of damage onto the comp of Morkel and Ali 1 on Ezreal and Sona. So they really want to keep these lanes in their favors. The thing with that teams have to be careful of when they do lane swap, however, is that they are missing out on some CS and experience when they are swapping. So they really have to time them carefully so that they both back at the same time, they both swap, and then that they try not to miss out on as much CS and XP as possible.
Right, and both of the junglers ganking on opposite sides of the map, neither landing quite as much, Trich getting out and Vi getting spotted. But the other option on a lane swap is for the other lane to gank your lane and with the kill be able to freely push a tower or swap off of it. And we see Vi coming in again.
Using Volt Breaker to try and close that gap just a bit. Gonna use that excessive force. Spy Wombat going a bit aggressive there. He's gonna use that riposte to negate some damage coming out there. He's gonna get a couple auto attacks down. Kraylol getting dropped really low actually.
Yeah, and if most Disbands NA had gone on that, I'm sure they would have gotten a kill, but Plushy Mikey just coming down for a little security here on bottom.
Yeah, that lunge combo being used with Burst of Speed on Fiora, she's able to get a lot of attack damage. Final Spark actually going down. DX God gonna tank a turret shot there. Fiora...
Plushy Mikey just wasn't comfortable with that tower damage, and we see that she's going to try to wave clear this to try to get back up.
Yeah, Fiora has the gap closers in her Q, which is called Lunge. If she uses that once, she's able to use it again within a certain amount of time for no mana cost. So she essentially has 2 gap closers. Oh, we are seeing ATM Pink coming in that top lane. The stealth coming out from Hadu right there. Frosty's going to be the target of choice. He's going to be able to sidestep that rupture just a bit. Nothing's going to come out of this. Hadu and Frosty are going to look to turn their attention onto Aquarius here. The flash from Frosty, not quite able to get that flay.
Yeah, that play is so awkward to land, especially after a flash, and it's reminiscent of the old times when Cassidy would rift walk and then force pulse in completely the opposite direction. So just a miss there, but he'll get him next time, I'm sure. Hecarim just taking his red now and going to clear it up a bit before he goes to gank again, hopefully.
Yeah, Hadu and Frosty in that top lane, they don't want to play passive. They want to keep the aggression onto Aquarius. We are seeing Cray actually. As I was saying, they want to keep that aggression onto Aquarius so they can try to deny him CS, deny him XP, and ultimately get ahead. Twitch is going to become a much stronger game. Mikey going a bit aggressive here. The final spark going down. The ignite is ticking. It's not going to be enough. There was a proc of Illumination Flare that was remaining onto ATM. Had that have been proc, that surely would have been a kill for Mikey.
Unfortunately, he already had tower aggro, so there was no way he was going to go for that. But a great trade. Plushy Mikey is forced in the tower, and both of the jungler and the mid laner to go back, easing some of the pressure on Fiora from the jungler and top, because they have no wards to see them if he comes.
So if we take a look right now at the ward coverage really quickly, there's 2 wards right now coming out for Russ LFD. They have one up near that Baron and one in the bottom side of the mid lane brush. We're seeing a death sentence land in that top lane.
Probably nothing's going to come out of that, though.
Yeah, most Disbands NA here, they have a couple wards on the map. Not too much here. They are pretty much blind up in that top lane, however. So they're going to want to be careful with that if Kraylol does decide to come up top to try and get a tower dive onto Aquarius. But as of right now, Kraylol has been choosing to go for those mid and bottom lane ganks rather than the top lane. It seems like Russ LFD really trusts their bottom lane of Frosty and Hadu right now, Twitch and Thresh, to be able to zone out Aquarius, be able to deny him of CS and XP that they really need to do, so that you can say, hey guys, I'm just gonna go mid and bottom, really help out Mikey as well as Spy Wombat here to try to get them ahead.
Yeah, and most Disbands NA taking the first tower with no answer back at top from Russ is looking for a date. We'll see if they try to go for Dragon here, and they will. Opting not to push for that second turret to draw jungler aggro, but Vi here will swing back around. No ward has gone down on Dragon, and that'll be freely uncontested.
They're seeing about a 200 gold lead right now for most Disbands NA that just got increased to a 1.1k after picking up that Dragon. The global gold this early on in the game is going to make a bit of a difference actually, because it'll eventually add up if they do start picking up more and more dragons, and they're going to be able to buy Morko's going to be able to buy more wards with that dragon gold being picked up, so it could really help them into transitioning into the next dragon that comes up, or even if they just want to get a lot more vision control out for their team.
And speaking of golden items, almost all the members on most Disbands NA have mana or mana items, and most notably they have 2 tiers, which they both got very early. Interestingly, Sona has picked up 2 pieces of gold generation, and we're going to see if she tries to go for a third, but I doubt it. That second fairy charm will most likely go into another item for the supports.
And we see Kraylol Voltbreaker down in the mid lane, Assault and Battery, Light Binding, Final Spark combo being used there. Gonna pick up Mikey. There's also a lot of Shadows being used in that top lane. Hadu gonna flash to try and pick up Pink here. The Expunge will be enough. 2 kills going across the map there. And Russ LFD is gonna take a gold lead.
Yeah, and they take the tower too, and we just found out what a double rainbow meant. It meant a death for DX gods. Unfortunately, Ali1's gonna take up quite a bit of damage here from Plushy Mikey. Plushy Mikey hopefully will try to push in this tower as Ali1 exerts almost no pressure on the burst that Mikey has.
The flash, the light binding, the ignite! Oh, the barrier's gonna be popped by Ali1. Mikey was pretty confident that Ali1 would have dropped there, but he did manage to use that barrier to keep himself alive there.
And yeah, ignite lasts for 5 ticks, so as high as barrier is for a single target burst, it only lasts 2 seconds. He got really, really lucky that those 2 seconds happened to be the ones he needed.
Kraylol going aggressive on Morkel. Crescendo being used in that exhaust. Great play there by Morkel to be able to pick up that kill. We see a teleport coming in from Aquarius here. Spy Wombat gonna be able to pick up a kill on the Morkel there. Plushy gonna try and kite around DX Gods as well as he can, using that Lucent Singularity to try and slow him down.
It's Plushy Mikey gonna go down. He's getting chased by DX Gods and Aquarius, and he passes the Dragon Pit. It looks like he's gonna be okay. Oh, a flash from DX Gods, and it looks like he is going to die. Oh, not quite finishing.
the final spark coming out from Plushy Mikey right there didn't go off in time, that would have dropped DX Gods relatively low, and Hadu was in the area if he wanted to try and make something out of that. Aquarius gonna use that Rupture, but Hadu just gonna sidestep that. He's gonna use that ambush to get away, granting him some stealth for a little bit of time. So it's a really useful skill for Twitch to be able to go stealth, and the teams aren't going to see him when he does go in stealth, and even if they do hit him with an ability when he's in stealth, it's not going to reveal him. So it's basically a free ticket out if he does just decide to press that Q button, use that ambush to get out of there.
Definitely, if he doesn't get hit, if he, gets all the damage off and he just dodges all the skill shots, he'll be able to make it out invisible almost every time. But on that dragon fight last time, Russ is looking for a date, possibly dived a little too hard because they had no ward coverage and went down 2 towers.
Assault battery going down in mid lane. Final spark landing across 2 members right there. Dark passage being used, trying to grant them a little bit of a shield. The flay being used, knocking away DX shots. The death sentence landing onto Morkel. Plushy Mikey doesn't quite have his cooldowns just yet. Using that losing singularity to get a bit more poke down. And that's a kill being picked up right there for Russ is looking for a date. But most Disbands and A was able to answer by shutting down Kraylol also. The gold lead right now is even. It's dead even.
Yeah, and that Vi kill won't matter as much because Vi can just go back into the jungle or find another gank, but Ezreal loses crucial farming time, and even though he has his True Shot Barrage up to wave clear this...
Death Sentence landing onto ATM Pink. True Shot Barrage coming down already. He's going to drop immediately. Frosty gonna survive with a very little amount of health, and Plushy Mikey gonna pick himself up a double kill. 4-1-1. Majai's Soul Stealer being picked up.
By the skin of his teeth. He had about 50 health left, and Ruby Sightstone definitely paying dividends right there. Looks like both teams are just going to back off, heal, and try to recuperate their losses.
Big wave up there forced by Wombat to try and clear. Oh, we're seeing the Rupture in the Hottie right. It's getting dropped really low. The Feral Scream going across. The Mystic Shot. Oh, it's not going to be enough, and the barrier being used.
So close, but not quite enough.
Yeah, Hadu was actually in ambush when that Mystic Shot did land. And that would have been a really surprising kill for Ali. I'm pretty sure he would have been happy to pick up that one. He didn't have True Shot Barrage available, however, so he wasn't able to finish that off.
And yeah, we see, interestingly, Twitch hasn't opted for an Infinity Edge, but he's gone for a Bork, so matching the Lux, who's also picked up another Magi Soul Stealer. Both of those AD and AP carries will be able to carry through the mid-game very, very well.
Now, Ali 1 actually taking down to about half from one Lucent Singularity from Plushy Mikey's luck. He is really strong right now. In that top lane, we are seeing Wombat getting engaged on here. He's going to try to turn his focus on the DX Gods. He's dropping him really low. Is he going to be able to pick up the kill? The Feast going down, and that Onslaught of Shadows is going to be enough to finish him off.
Ignite is ticking. Oh, on the last tick, Spy Wombat gets the kill on DX Gods.
And that Ignite finishing off the kill forced by Wombat. A 1-for-1 right there. There was assist gold going across the board for most Disbands NA. And they are going to look to push down onto this top turret. Now we see...
Yeah, it looks like most Disbands NA is going to collapse here on Vi if they can. Hecarim's going to start that charge up soon.
Oh, Morkel missing that crescendo.
That was, I'm not gonna lie, that was a huge whiff.
Kraylol using that Vault Breaker to get away, and Morkel thought they could lock him down with that crescendo. That would have been a lot of damage going down, potentially a kill for them. So right now, Russ is looking for a date, is a bit ahead, but most Disbands NA still have a really strong team fight comp. If they're able to chain together most of their damage, the Onslaught of Shadows, as well as using that Shock Blast and the Acceleration Gate combo before fights begin, that could be huge for them. There is no real tank right now coming out for Russ LFD, because we are seeing Kraylol going for that Spirit of the Elder Lizard once again. He has no real defensive items besides a Ruby Crystal and a Null Magic Mantle, so he's not exceptionally tanky right now. And Spy Wombat on Fiora. Fiora's just a champion. You can't really build full tank. You have to build damage on her. She's just going to be useless.
Yeah, both teams circling right now for Dragon. It's just spawned, and interestingly, none of the supports have opted to pink around it. Both people getting spotted out, and it looks like that Russ is looking for a date. Is going to go straight onto that. In the meantime, DX Gods is going to look to try to push in top as a response. True Shot Barrage just missing just a bit too late. In terms of team composition, I really want to point out that Hecarim is the only one that seems out of place here to me. His ultimate dives deep in, and most of his damage is focused on a small, centered area, whereas the rest of the team really just wants to peel.
Yeah, if they're able to let Ali 1 deal all of his damage in the back line. It does look like he is going for that blue bit as we're seeing Death Sentence land. Spy Wombat going in. He's going to be aggressive on Ali 1 here. He's going to use that Blade Wall. It's going to get a bit of damage down there onto the top team. Also, the Shallow's going across. Aquarius is going to be the first one to follow. The box being used. Going to pick up Ali 1 and then ATM Pink. Morkel's gonna have to flash over that wall. Oh, Hadou's gonna flash over. He does have that blue buff, but that's not gonna be enough. We do see DX Gods in this top lane, though, putting a lot of pressure down onto this top turret.
Yeah, unfortunately, most Disbands NA had overextended just a bit too much when they knew DX Gods was split pushing top, and they had already given the dragon. There really was no reason for them to stay there, but DX Gods just gonna take it out and try to take out what he has already with one turret. He's gotten amazing damage on that tier 2 though. He's taken about 2/3 of it out, and the next push will definitely see it go down.
So right now, looks like Russ LFD is just going to look to push onto this tier 2 turret, and they're going to pick that up. So that's a more global gold going across for their team. They are sitting on 4 turret kills right now, which is really playing into their 5k gold lead, as well as that dragon they picked up just earlier.
And yeah, the map control right now swings pretty hard right now in terms of Russ is looking for a date. The wards going down show that they have at least 2/3 of the map going all the way to the tier 2 turret warded and completely covered, whereas on purple side for most Disbands NA, they only have their own jungle warded, and at that, only on the bottom side.
I really think that most Disbands NA is gonna want to farm up as much as they can, get wards out, and try to pick their fights. They're gonna wanna be careful of the single target damage that we really talked about earlier in Champ Select. The Assault and Battery, the Light Binding, the Death Sentence, as well as the single target damage that comes out from a champion like Fiora. It's definitely not something that most Disbands NA want to get themselves tied up into, because they are behind. So if one of their members gets caught out, it could be huge for them.
Yeah, and we mentioned that earlier in the pre-game chat, that if they get that pick off, it's almost a guaranteed kill. As I talk about guaranteed kills, Mikey just instantly bursts down Sona with a wave of light there.
Yeah, that Final Spark doing a lot of damage right now. The Light Binding also being able to lock him up. Good Death Sentence there by Frosty, being able to catch Morkel out there. So I'm really curious to see how Russ LFD is going to look to push their advantage. They really have lots of options right there. They have the Baron available. They have top turret or the mid turret they could look to do, and then looks like the mid turret is gonna be their choice of action right now. And Mikey actually getting a lot of poke damage down onto Ali 1. Right now, Mikey on Lux is a real threat for most Disbands NA, and there's really not much they can do at this point.
That's true. They see Fiora top split pushing, and if they can try to make something out of it, they'll definitely have a better chance of coming back in this game. But Mikey's already got 11 stacks on his Medjai's. Any more, and it's going to spell, well, a death sentence.
If Mikey is able to get those 20 stacks, he's going to be granted, I believe it's 15% cooldown reduction. So he's able to build full damage after that point. He doesn't have to grab a Morello Nomicon if he does want to go for that 40% CDR. He can just build a Rabadon, Zonias. He can just get all that damage down onto him so he can have the optimum burst. But he's also going to have that Medjai's granting him a lot of AP as well as that cooldown reduction.
And Hado was picking up this huge wave on bottom, so there really was no loss in terms of farm. ATM Pink will clear out the top wave, and both teams are going to look to come mid and start scrapping it out. Wards are getting cleared by Ali 1, and it looks like the poke game begins.
Yeah, right now most Disbands in A are going to look to push down this tier 1 turret. They're going to want to try and take every advantage they get, because they do see Hadu in that bot lane, so it's definitely in their best interest to fight a 4v5 right now. We are seeing the Light Binding land down. The Final Spark going across. ATM actually getting dropped really low there. We are going to see True Shot Barrage going across. Not going to hit any members of Russ LFD.
And I don't think they can engage with DX and ATM Pink so low. If they can poke it out, possibly, but it's going to be hard with no real solid burst from their team.
Yeah, and Ali 1 on Ezreal right now is opting to go for that blue build Ezreal that's so infamous on him. And honestly, it's not really going to work out too well for them because he doesn't have any real completed items for that. He does have the Sheen available to get a bit of extra damage onto that Mystic Shot. However, he doesn't have the Iceborne Gauntlet, so he's not going to be able to deal deal that AoE slow that he's able to get off. The light binding, losing singularity, not quite hitting. If Mikey's able to get off a strong final spark, light binding, losing singularity combo, it could be huge for his team. He's gonna use that final spark. As I say that, Death Send is landing onto Aquarius here, and no. Russ LFD says, "Hey guys, let's back off. We don't want to dive this."
That awkward flay. Can never get enough of that. But Alion's decision to go for Blue Ezreal really means that it's going to be hard for them to catch up again. And Blue Ezreal really does well only if you're ahead in terms of items. Jace as well, not picking up straight AD, but going for armor penetration. Looking over at Russ is looking for a date. Very few of them actually build armor.
Mikey gonna get a lot of poke damage out here onto Aquarius. He is opting to go for a bit of an AP tank on Cho'Gath. He has the Rod of Ages, and he could be, I'm not quite sure what he's looking to build in after that, but the Rod of Ages provides him with a lot of health, mana, as well as some AP. So giving him the tankiness and that damage is really something that you want on Cho'Gath.
But Russ LFD really has to answer right now with their top tower pushing in. They're going to have to make a decision right now to either push it in or just go ahead and defend and take their time.
Yeah, right now it looks like Russ LFD is just going to want to back off of this one. They are sending Kraylol to that top lane to clear that wave out and push it out a bit. But most Disbands NA realizes this, and they're going to press onto this. They see it's a 4v5, and they're going to want to try and put a lot of damage down onto this turret, even potentially take it, or no, Kraylol is making his way down there. They're going to see what they can do here. Morkel taking a lot of damage from that Loosened Singularity. Rupture landing onto Mikey there. Looks like the Death Sentence is going to land on the ATM Pink there. Spy Wombat using that Blade Wall to get across 4 members of the team. He's going to have to use Onslaught of Shock to get away. Final Spark going to be able to finish off the kill on Pink there. They're going to try and use the Shock Blast to try and get some return damage. Not quite though. Aquarius is going to be the next target of choice for Russ LFD. A kill going over to Plushy Mikey.
Flay does land that time, and that was almost a wipe. DX Gods and Alion making it out barely by the skin of their teeth, with no losses in the side of Russ is looking for a date. They pushed and they jumped so well onto that death sentence as soon as Frosty landed that.
A tier 2 mid tower going over to Russ LFD right now. They have 5 turrets down, and at the moment they're sitting on a 8k gold lead. So this is huge for them. We're only 24 minutes in, and 8k is a significant amount. Take a look at
we're going to have to look at some significant pressure, and Morkel lands the crescendo.
The final spark being used there. Ali one getting dropped really low. ATM Pink gonna try to get some return damage onto Kraylol here. He's gonna get dropped really low. He's gonna target his focus onto Ali one, though he will drop. Nothing coming out of that for him. DX Gods gonna get caught out here by Hadu here. The Blade of the Ruin King being used. Try to give him some speed boost. Gonna use that Shock Blast behind him. DX Gods will fall to the poison of Twitch there. Frosty gonna get knocked out by the Rupture. The Light Binding being used to try and lock up the members of most Disbands NA, and Mikey just saved his teammate there. Frosty is going to be able to get out of that one.
And with no vision, they just don't feel comfortable chasing that all the way. Dragon is up, and it looks like Plushy Mikey's going to have to go back to heal for this.
Yeah, he's really low after that little skirmish there.
After the skirmish.
And right now we are seeing ATM Ping just picking up that blue buff. It doesn't look like they're really going to give that over to any... No, he's just going to pick that up for himself. Morkel right now, if we do take a look, he is out of mana on Sona. If Sona...
Recently, Hecarim's mana had been changed. His Rampage got significantly nerfed. Originally, I think it was 25 mana per cast, and it's been...
Final Spark landing off in that mid lane, being able to pick up Plushy, another kill, ATM Pink. I don't even want to say that's at his position. That was just well played by Mikey there to realize, hey, my Final Spark can reach this. I'm going to pick up a kill for my team here.
Yeah, and Kraylol was right in the right spot to Vault Breaker straight into him. But as I was saying earlier, Hecarim's Rampage got nerfed from 25 mana to 40 mana, which is huge. It's 60% increase, right? So picking up that blue buff on Hecarim is not a bad idea. Unless, of course, you give it to Plushy Mikey on Lux with a Magi Soul Stealer at 18 stacks.
Absolutely. Right now Frosty is sitting on an Oracle's Elixir, so he's gonna try give his team some more vision control with that. He's also sitting on a Aegis of the Legion, so he did opt to go for an aura item this game, whereas Morkel is sitting on those 2 gold generation items and tons of wards. He has that Ruby Sight Stone, he has Pinks, he has the regular Sight wards, so he's gonna look to really ward up the map for his team here. Because Final Spark landing across DX Gods there, getting dropped really low. And it doesn't look like Russ LFD is going to follow up on that one. However, that is the damage we are seeing that's coming out of Plushy Mikey.
Yeah, and he's got 40% cooldown reduction, right? So he has the final spark on a 40-second cooldown whenever he wants. Um, we'll see if an engage happens here, but both teams probably going to look to just contest this third tier tower right now.
Assault and Battery is available right now for Kralos. So he's able to get that Volt Breaker to close the gap with most Disbands NA. Could be huge here. The Assault and Battery could be followed up really well with either a Death Sentence or Light Binding. So it's really going to show again how Kralos Vi, he was not a very conventional pick we've been seeing in the tournament. It's looking to really work in their favor this game.
Yeah, Vi's been picked less recently with the release of Zac, but she's fulfilling a very mobile and very quick damage output here. We see the wave clear coming out from Aquarius is just completely demolishing waves for them. They're going to have to split push if they ever want to get a tower. And I don't want to put too much weight on this, but everything right now depends on Russ is looking for a date to break into the space right now.
Plus, we might gonna dish out a bit of oh, that Lucent Singularity actually took a bit more than a quarter of Morkel's health right there on Sony. He's still relatively squishy, he doesn't have any defensive items, so he's going to do a lot of damage. Also, Plushy Mikey is running those 20 magic penetration runes, so that really helps out a lot with that. We are seeing Russ LFD though, they're positioning themselves more towards that top lane. They're going to try and get engaged on here, because at this point they're about 10k gold ahead. And they have a significant item advantage also. We are seeing Hadu right now going in the ambush. Gonna use that blade of the Ruin King to try and speed himself up. Gonna use that spray and play. The final spark not quite landing onto him there. The death sentence just barely missing there. But that's a kill for Hadu. Great use of Twitch's kit with that ambush to be able to pick himself up a kill.
Yeah, and if there was ever opportunity to move, it would be now. Hadu's going to try to lifesteal off of these wolves to try to get some health back. Fiora's going to split push top. Break in right now, it's going to be huge. Most Disbands NA starting to get their items, and as big as they are of a late game team, and as fed as Russ is looking for a date is, it's going to be hard if they come back. They have the kit and they have the items to be able to do it.
Frosty's still sitting on that Oracle. He's going to try, once again, to grant his team some extra vision here. Hadu's got to be a bit careful when he wants to be a bit aggressive here. Although his team is far ahead, he's still a relatively squishy Twitch who can get bursted down very quickly by the team comp of most Disbands NA. If a rupture lands, rather, mixing my letters there, he's able to follow that up with a really nice feast. And I'm not quite sure. I'm going to check real quick how much the feast of Aquarius is doing. It's doing about 550.
Death sentence lands. Allion melts and he goes down.
I just missed that death sentence there, unfortunately, but there was a kill going down there for Spy Wombat on Fiora. But most has been there. No, follow up on this. Plushy Mikey picking up a kill on the Morkel there. Spy Wombat using that blade wall to get into the back line there. DX God's gonna be the first one to fall. Ignite taking down ATM Pink. Spy Wombat still taking that turret. He's gonna fall there. Aquarius is gonna get hit by that death sentence. He's gonna be the next target. Kraylol is pursuing on him. The flash from Plushy Mikey. The light binding landing. The Lucent Singularity. Gonna pick him up. A triple kill.
And they are just getting silly on top of this turret. Kraylol falling low, but not quite. The GG call goes down and the surrender hits out. Most Disbands NA has lost to Russ, is looking for a date.
Russ is looking for a date. Now moving on to the finals of Week 8 of the League of Legends Amateur Open. That will be coming up very shortly here, so we hope you guys all stay tuned. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Wicked Slouch and Kodalok will be casting this next game. So once again, thank you guys all so much for watching. If you like the stream, go ahead and follow. If you like what we're doing here, but you have some suggestions, go ahead and add Muddy Mudkip on the League of Legends client and let him know what you think. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Take care, guys. See you for the